Welcome back, boys and girls. Our final chapter, chapter 17 of I, Freddy. My cage, or rather my residence, the door remains open at all time, is back in its place on the third shelf up. Mr. John has taken my advice and tacked a strip of net curtain to the top shelf. It extends all the way to the floor. Another strip is suspended from the edge of the desk, so I don't have to ask Sir William to jump up there anymore. In any case, he considers such exertions unsuitable at his age. The door of Enrico and Caruso's cage is always open too, by the way, but they're seldom even roaming the apartment. They prefer to stay home, they say, and continue their theatrical training. They also requested Mr. John, through me, to be kind enough to adjust the position of their cage so as to give them a better view of the TV set. So far, Sir William has steadfastly refused to get in touch with Mr. John via the Mac. He just goes on purring and meowing at him, but that way he'll never get the infrared lamp he covets to warm his fur with. Personally, I shall take care not to interfere in any way. Sir William can get very huffy when he thinks he's being bullied into something. He and I have been the best of friends ever since I grasped that fact. We've only had one major spat, and that was the night I first got in touch with Mr. John. Having more or less deciphered his message of welcome, I proceeded to draft a reply. It had to be brief and to the point, so this is what I came up with. I typed, "Thanks for giving me house room, Mr. John." Sir William objected to this wording. It just wouldn't do, he thought. It was disrespectful. At first I couldn't fathom what he meant. Then it turned out that he thought it would be more appropriate for me to address Mr. John as Master. I argued that to call someone Master implied that he owned me, and no self-respecting animal could admit to being owned like a piece of furniture. I found Sir William's attitude absurd and told him so. This made him rather angry. He continued to raise objections, which only made me dig in my heels. He was trying to dictate to me after all. To make a long story short, I came close to squandering my opportunity. This dawned on me at a lucid moment, so I suggested the following alternative. I typed, "Dear Mr. John, many thanks for allowing me to live in your home as a civilized hamster, free to roam wherever he wants." Sir William found this an excellent solution. That not only settled our dispute, but gave me somewhat more of an insight into the way the old gentleman's mind worked. It was a considerable time before I managed to get my message down on the screen. After that, I proposed simply to wait, sitting on the desk, for Mr. John to come home. Sir William pronounced this extremely unwise. He said I should give the Master time to get used to the new situation and think about things. For instance, how to inform little Sophia that her beloved Freddy will be living with him from now on. He was right, so I spent the night under the chest of drawers. In fact, Mr. John's only response when he found my message on the screen was, Then he switched off the Mac and retired to bed without further comment. The next morning he called my name. I came out from under the chest of drawers. Presumably taking my consent for granted, he picked me up and deposited me on the desk beside the Mac, which was already switched on. "Listen, kid," he said. "There's something we must straighten out. If you agree with what I say, press the Y key. If not, press the N key. If you want something explained in greater detail, press M for more. Got it?" I pressed the Y. Then he told me we couldn't avoid letting Sophie know about my reappearance, even at the risk of her wanting me back. I needn't be afraid, though. He would talk her into letting me stay. I pressed the M key. He had a translation to complete and was rather pressed for time, he said, so I would simply have to trust him. I thought a while, then pressed the Y. "Next point," said Mr. John. "The fact you can read and write must remain a secret between us." I pressed the M. Then an exclamation mark. Why? He said. Because with all due respect to Sophie and her parents, if the three of them knew about your unique talents, it's pretty certain other people would get to know too. Sophie would only have to open her mouth in school one day, and then what? It wouldn't be long before some smart showman came along, eager to make a fortune out of Fantastic Freddy, the hamster that can read and write. Either that, or you'd wind up in the hands of a scientist, itching or to dissect your brain for research purposes. Does either of those prospects appeal to you? I pressed the end key several times. So, it's a deal. Strict secrecy. Now, I'll have a word with Sophie. He picked up the phone. Hello, kid. Freddy's turned up. Yes. Here in my apartment. No, hold your horses. First, let me... How? He hid in my briefcase. Listen, kid, you must have a pretty good idea of why he ran away. The cage door. He opened it with your pencil. Got hold of it on purpose, as I suspected. Yes, he's very smart of him. I agree. But here he could have the run of the place. No, William would never hurt him. I know it for a fact. Yes, I think so too. Freddy definitely needs his freedom. Okay, that's settled then. See you soon. He hung up and turned to me. Well, Freddy, he broke off with a smile. The screen was now displaying the words, Thanks for everything, Mr. John. It wasn't long before Sophie turned up with Gregory, who had brought my cage along. When they came into the room, I was still sitting on the desk beside the Mac. The screen was now as blank as a sheet of white paper. I sat up and waved. Gregory laughed. That's how he got me to buy him, the little rascal. Freddy isn't a rascal, said Sophie. He's the bestest, smartest golden hamster in the world. You don't know how right you are, Sophie. Here, Freddy. She put a mealworm in front of me. You're staying with Mr. John because you're better off here, but I'll come and visit you, okay? Okay, Sophie. Sorry I can't give you that in writing, but unfortunately, the fact that I can write must remain a secret. The poem! A mighty pain to love it is, and 'tis a pain that pain to miss. But of all pains the greatest pain, it is to love, but love in vain. I picked it out for her especially. Now I would never be able to show it to her. I was doubly sorry. But still, I really couldn't complain. I may not be able to write to Sophie, but now I could write to my heart's content. I made a start the very next day. To begin with, I limited myself to finger exercises. Paw exercises, I mean. On the Mac's keyboard. Before long, however, I could manipulate the keys so skillfully that I was able to type my message to Mr. John on the screen without difficulty. As time went by, I developed an urge to write something really long, but not just any old thing. I wanted to write a story. A regular story, like the ones in the books on Mr. John's shelves. That was a tall order. On the other hand, I knew exactly what my story would be about. And then, one evening, the moment came. Enrico and Caruso had settled down at last. Sir William had retired to his blanket for the night, and Mr. John had gone out. Suddenly, I knew it. Now was the time to start writing my life story. The story of a golden hamster who set off in search of the promised land of Assyria. It went something like this. Chapter 1. The time has come. Enrico and Caruso, the guinea pigs, have settled down at last. Old William the tomcat had retired to his blanket for the night, and Mr. John has gone out. Now is the time to make a start of my life story. Until begins his journey as a writer. Well, I hope you enjoyed the book, I, Freddy, boys and girls. It was good sharing this time with you. Take care. See you around.